Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. This is going to be a Power Rangers idea video of sorts for the upcoming Power Rangers Reboot movie. Recently there's been a lot of little news rumors about it going on, about how it's a little bit delayed while they work on it, and there was a leaked script which expanded more on the ideas, and I did a video talking about that so you can hear more in depth about that, but I'm going to lay down the general premise I want to talk about, because effectively in the movie, I guess there was an idea about time travel and dimension hopping, and they were going to travel back to the 90s but in a different dimension and meet the MMPR team and then possibly meet other teams and get different Zords and designs from them. And I mentioned in that video how I thought that was a little bit messy and confusing for a reboot when you're trying to capture a broader audience than just your hardcore fandom. Delving into other seasons that are non-MMPR right off the bat I thought was too confusing. And I mentioned in that video how if you're going to do anything with this, you should stick with MMPR. Again, as sick as we all are of MMPR pandering, it's just the smartest play, I think, franchise-wise, if you're going to do that. And I thought of an idea for it that may be controversial, and it might not be necessarily what I would want if I could have my dream Power Rangers movie, but I was trying to come at this from a point of what could be the most marketable that I would also possibly enjoy. And that's where I'm coming from this. And again, this isn't what I think they should do. I'm not trying to tell them what to do. Again, never listen to what the fans say because there's going to be a million different opinions. This is just kind of a thought experiment I had. People are probably going to get mad at me for even suggesting this, but my idea is effectively, again, for the movie in regards to time travel, you only meet members of the MMPR cast. First of all, at the base idea of that is, I think that'll bring in the casual audience. This way, with this reboot, you can kind of have your own take with these new characters and sort of have this new universe being born. But then if you tie it to the MMPR characters in some way, you're going to get the casual 90s forever fans, which sucks that exists. And I hate the nothing beats the original crowd because the only original that can't be beaten is Klaus Michelson. But it's a smart play financially, in my opinion, if you are going to go anyway tying this back. And it actually might be the smartest play, because if you're trying to just do it completely new, not tied to anything, you're running a little bit of a risk, but going for any sort of MMPR nostalgia is a safe bet, at least. And we see that with the toy line. You know, I think the Lightning Collection is balanced, but they have to rely on MMPR a lot. Again, I don't like it always, but I understand it, and that's where I'm coming from this. So for my idea would be, make this movie a selective sequel or a retroactive sequel. And if you don't know what that is, if any of you are familiar with either, my two examples are going to be the Halloween franchise and the Terminator franchise, where both of them have made multiple sequel stories that ignore certain sequels and are only a sequel to certain movies. So for example, the most recent Terminator movie, Dark Fate, was only a sequel to Terminator 1 and 2. It ignored the rest. The recent Halloween trilogy is only a sequel to the original Halloween, and it ignores all the rest of the Halloween movies. And they've done that before. And that's not a new practice. It's something that's been semi-recent. It can be annoying to some people. And my idea is make this movie a sequel only to MMPR and ignore the rest of the series. Now, again, that's going to piss some people off, and they're going to say, oh, it's erased. But these shows aren't disappearing. If you have the DVDs, Wild Force isn't suddenly going to Thanos snap off the Earth. Just hear me out. I'll encourage you to hear me out first. Effectively, set it up much like Halloween did. Halloween ended on a vague note. Spoilers for 1978. But Halloween ended with Michael Myers getting away, but the new movies explained how he got caught before the events of the new movie. So effectively, you set this in a universe set up for the casual fan that only knows MMPR, and you just have this vague notion that the MMPR team existed in a form we knew them from the TV show, and at some point, they defeated Rita and Zed in this universe, and that was just the only team that existed. And then you have this new generation of heroes that needs to step up and for some reason has to travel to the past and connect with the 90s MMPR team in the past and the present. Now that might sound a little bit confusing, but I think to the casual audience it would be less confusing because so many fans only know MMPR, honestly. And this would be a way of sort of bringing in some nostalgia and a wider fan base that only like MMPR as well as the hardcore fans at the same time. I feel like this sounds more confusing than it is, but in essence, it's basically tapping into the fact that so many people only remember MMPR. So you're effectively just setting up a world where it's not that hard to imagine the MMPR team won one day and they've since retired. This has worked for other franchises surprisingly well, and I feel like it could actually make use of the fact that people don't know about seasons beyond MMPR. Like, I know that's annoying to some people, but it might be an actual way to take advantage of something that'd be kind of annoying, because I feel like you'd underestimate just how many people don't know about anything past MMPR. I'm going to explain too how the other series we know wouldn't be erased. I'm going to explain that at the end. This is just a general idea of one way you could do it. Again, this isn't how I'm saying they should do it, but this is one way you could do it. So you effectively have this world where a version of the MMPR seasons 1 through 3 happened, but the team won at some point and they retired. And since then, Power Rangers have not been needed. But now, present day, a threat arises and we need Power Rangers again. Problem is, the power coins are gone for some reason, the connection to the grid is gone, and we have one of the veteran Rangers set up. It would probably be Tommy, which again, we're going to have people complaining about, but let's say for the sake of argument, it's Jason. Jason knows they need to bring the power back, but they need something from the past to figure out how to do it. They need to either bring the power coins back online or create new power coins. He recruits a new team of heroes. They have to travel back to the past to get the information needed to bring the Rangers back. You get 90s nostalgia, go-go Power Rangers, all that stuff. They bring whatever they needed back from the past to the present to create this new Ranger team. And I wouldn't want them to be MMPR 2.0, so I don't know all the details of how I would do this if I was doing it, but basically something from the past would be needed to activate the new Rangers in the future that would tie it to MMPR. And I would like to see the suits be original, but have maybe some echoes of the MMPR suit design. Kind of like, I know a lot of people didn't like the 2017 movie ones, but I want you to think about Red's helmet, because a lot of the helmets were very different than the show, but Red's had a little bit of the echo of the Toronto design, and think about that. Like, the suits would be new designs, but some of the symmetrical design choices would echo the MMPR team because of them being tied to their past. Also, I think about Ghost Ager a lot, because the way their suits look remind me a lot of MMPR, but it's their own thing. So I would have something like that, where they kind of echoed MMPR a little bit, but they were their own thing, and it's kind of like Power Rangers, the next generation. And then this activation opens up the new universe. Again, I would have it, Power Rangers haven't been needed for a long time, but once this movie sets it up that Power Rangers are back, you open it up for other TV shows and new teams to reawaken, and it's effectively reawakened the grid, and now we open up this new universe, and that's how you do it. You use the 90s and the MMPR nostalgia to grab fans and get them in, but you use it to light the match, and you start the new universe with this, and then you always have a little bit of nostalgia tie-in. It offers the opportunity for cameos from past MMPR Rangers. In the present, you know, you could have Billy helping, you could bring in Tommy, you could bring in Jason, you could bring in Kimberly. You could do all kinds of stuff with that. And then they could probably use technology to digitally de-age them if they wanted to for the old stuff. Again, I know this is a controversial idea about the idea of ignoring the previous seasons, but I think it could be a potentially smart play. It's not something I think they would do. It was just something interesting I thought about when I was thinking, how could they only do MMPR? Now, I said I would address not erasing the rest of the things. Now, this is a multiverse. Power Rangers is a multiverse. And that's the same way I feel about the Halloween and Terminator movies. Whenever they do a selective sequel, suddenly the old movies aren't fake to me now. They're not fan fiction. They're just alternate timelines. And I wouldn't mention anything about the multiverse in this movie. When it's your first movie, you don't want to do time travel in the multiverse right away. But since Power Rangers exists in a multiverse, this universe would effectively just act as another Earth in Power Rangers multiverse. Effectively a what-if universe. Like, what if the Mighty Morphin Team won and there was no other need for Rangers? And that allows this movie to exist on its own. It's just a completely new take, kind of like, this is probably another hot take to bring up, but the Star Trek Kelvin timeline. You allow yourself to have this new timeline where new stories happen, but then down the road, in the future, you can connect it to the existing Power Rangers multiverse. And then it's not erased, it still exists, you can cross over together, but it allows you to have this clean slate while also being able to take advantage of your past nostalgia. Another idea I had with this is they said they're doing multiple new Power Rangers series. As I mentioned, the reawakening the grid in the present could result in new teams cropping up for new TV series. But you could also do an animated MMPR series that would fill in the gaps of what we don't see in this altered history, of effectively showing how the Rangers defeated Zed and Rita. It could be a good way to capitalize on MMPR nostalgia and tie into that shared universe thing. So that's my idea. Again, this is not going to be a popular idea. I know I can already hear the hate comments, but it was just an idea thought of. I was trying to marry the ideas of, again, what I think they could do to be as marketable as possible with nostalgia, while also doing something that I think could be pretty cool. If it was my ideal world, if I was somehow granted a wish to make the ideal PR movie that I would love and would do successful, this isn't necessarily what I would do, but I wouldn't mind something like this if it were well done. I know this will probably make a lot of people mad because so many people are sick of MMPR and they don't want MMPR to rule the franchise forever, but I'm at a place now where I would rather have it be MMPR with a good story than just shallow and empty stuff with new suits like we've been getting. But that's just me. But I want to know what you guys think about doing a selective sequel where the new reboot universe would be a sequel only to MMPR, ignoring the events afterwards. Again, try to be nice in the comments. This is just me trying to come at this from an objective perspective. But until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.